it wasn't ever going to happen. We'll lead with the bad news first, I guess, kind of the cyclical part of it.
Yeah,
Pivot, I think, with Detroit,
there's options, right?
yeah, you can't ignore the internal combustion engine, and it's a great training for the supply chain. It's good for the environment.
I just had a great discussion with Dennis Reed from Edgewater Research. We talked about the automotive industry, what's trending, what's going on, what's happening. Don't want to miss it.
Again, not to say they're the greatest OEM or anything like that, because they have some of their own dynamics and things that they're dealing with. But when you just look fundamentally at their product roadmap on their website, I think it's a good example for others. And so, if you just take a Highlander as an example, right? It's a four-cylinder hybrid Highlander is like X price.
Yeah.
Then there's a 6-cylinder that's like X plus. But then you can go to a hybrid 4-cylinder that's X plus plus, or
Yeah.
So they've kind of just stepped it where I think a consumer can go in and have some level of optionality. Now, again, even with those, and I pick a Highlander, and it's not the cheapest car, but I think they started somewhere in the 45,000 range.
Yeah.
But there's some optionality where the consumer can come in, and if 45,000 for like a relatively equipped is like the max they can spend or what they can afford, okay, you're kind of steered to this decision.
Yeah, there's options, right?
Yeah, if you want to go the hybrid route and you want, and that's where, I think in general, and I think this goes to some of the Detroit-based OEMs, it was all of their EVs, despite prices that have moved up, a lot of the starting price points were $70,000, $80,000. So you've immediately went to the high-end luxury vehicle category. And then, great, you can move it a couple of points here, a couple of $1,000 here, but you're not taking that $85,000 vehicle and knocking it down to 45,000, right? So I think that's, to me, when I look at, how does the hybrid work, and that's the point of why I say, the pivot, I think, with Detroit, I think that's what the model has to look for. And a few years ago, you did see Toyota was very vocal. BMW was another one that was very vocal, that said, we're very committed to reducing emissions, everything else.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a market for the internal combustion at a certain price point. There's going to be a market for a hybrid, and then there's going to be a market for the EV. And I think the challenge is going to be naturally to bring that EV curve obviously down over time, but you can't ignore the internal combustion engine and think you were going to jump in 7 years from 100% internal combustion to 100% EV. It wasn't ever going to happen. And I think now you're starting to see that the dust settle from some of those mindsets where a lot of it's interest rates, a lot of it's things like that I'm sure people deal with. But like that's, again, I still think it's good, because when you think the average internal combustion engine has about $400 of semiconductors in it.
Yeah.
And a hybrid somewhere in the 700 to 800 range. So it's still that's a good trade, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great trade for the supply chain. It's good for the environment. It's, there are a bunch of different factors that's good for it, but you just can't. Yes, it's not a Tesla that's got thousands of dollars of ICs in it, but I would take 800 or whatever the number is over 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, got it. So people are focused on EV right now.
If you like Leadership in Manufacturing podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get the podcast. Our podcast is for industry decision makers like yourself, providing a personalized experience to elevate your leadership journey. So be sure to tune in. You'll have access to a wealth of practical advice and innovative strategies, boosting and refining your leadership style. So check it out. It's on leadershipinmanufacturing.com. Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.